Oh, perfect.
Cheers, Mike. I need the straight.
Okay. Well, we're here today, and we're talking to Kim with LaCole Vineyards about Washington State wines. What are you laughing at? And this is W.J. Walsh. The guy is giggling in the corner here. They're going to get me giggling. And a lot of people really don't know about Washington State wines. Could you tell us about what makes Washington wine so good? Tell us a little bit about the climate, the soil conditions, the AVAs, which is the growing districts of Washington State.
I sure can.
Thank you.
Well, I think when most people think of Washington State, they actually think of Seattle. Obviously, that's the largest population center. And when you think of Seattle, you think of rain.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't realize is that the whole eastern half of the state is actually desert. At our estate vineyard in Walla Walla, we only get 8 to 10 inches of rain a year. So 95% of all the fruit grown in the state is actually grown on that east side of the state. So once you cross that Cascade Mountain Range, which really serves as a rain shadow, there's really very little precipitation. And so when you can control water, growing grapes, you can control a lot.
You can control anything. Yeah, that's just like Argentina, isn't it? You know, the Mendoza district, it's such a desert region also. So there's a correlation between the two there.
There definitely is. And we're also blessed with nice, loose, free-draining soil.
That's perfect.
You know, we have long growing days in the season between really starting in May through the end of October. And we'll start crush, which we have started. It's now the end of September. We have a little bit more than half of our crop in. But we actually, during the growing season, get about 2 additional hours of sunlight, more than California. So even though we are cooler, a lot of people do question being so far north, we more than catch up due to our nice, warm days. And then we have great, cool nights. So we're allowed to really physiologically fully ripen and have great balance in our fruit in the vineyards.
So the area, you would think, being so far north and right next to Canada, you would think it would be very, very cold, or very cool summers. I guess if they are cool summers, but is there some sort of climate thing happening there that just sort of keeps the temperatures mild throughout the year?
Well, the majority of our growing regions and AVAs actually fall in the south-central part of the state.
Okay.
And so we're not as far north, because really the further north you do get, the summers are drastically different. People in Spokane, Washington, for instance, do not have air conditioners. They don't need them. When you live in Walla Walla, you're running your air conditioner from May through September.
Wow.
So it's that much warmer. We're 190 to 100 degrees during the day, July and August.
I would never think that. Okay, well, let's talk about the grape varietals that are the strongest in Washington State.
Well, I think you'd find that's a highly debatable question.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
But I can tell you, really, Washington State, first of all, has really built its reputation from the beginning around the Bordeaux varietals. So we're talking Merlot and Cabernet. What you've seen come on in the last decade and more is people growing lots of Syrah. In fact, that was the most planted varietal for many years in a row, late 90s, early this century. And so now you see people doing everything. We have great Malbecs, Cab Francs, of course, Bordeaux varietals. But we also have people doing some Tempranillos, doing some other things.
That's interesting.
And being very successful with them. The Washington Wine Commission's tagline is the perfect climate for wine. And being such a young growing region, having the conditions that we have, we're still experimenting, you know.
Well,
it's very fun.
as I would say sometimes, if you run out of reds, you've got some whites. So what would be the white wines, the strong white wines of Washington?
Well, being from LaCole 41, obviously, we're probably most known for our Semillon, again, a white Bordeaux varietal, some great Sauvignon Blancs. Riesling is the Riesling and Chardonnay are the 2 top white varietals that you'll see coming out of Washington State.
Very good. What would you expect for a flavor profile of like the red wines in particular?
I think what people get most excited about, especially people that are just beginning to learn about Washington State, is that the balance to the wines is so incredible. They're big, they're dark, but they're balanced. You have great acidity in Washington State wines, and which makes them great food wines.
So they wouldn't be the big fruit bombs.
No. And not to say, I mean, everybody's wine style and winemaking can be different, but typically I think when you think of Washington State, those are the things you think of. So.
Very good. And I sort of think of the strongest varietal for Washington, what I find to be my favorite is Merlot.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Or
Depending on the person.
It does. I think, though, in traveling the country like I do, if people are going to have Merlot, there's usually always a Washington State Merlot or several, because it is something that we do very well.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
this is all about Washington State wines. If you haven't had a chance to try any of them, please, we have them at Bon Vivant. Nicole is probably one of the standout vineyards of Washington State. They're not going to be $8, $9 a bottle, but they're phenomenal wines. I think that. What does the Merlot run for, WJ? I'm going to get him to speak here.
It depends on the Merlot. They have a couple different bottlings, but I would say that the Columbia Valley retail would range 20 to 30.
About $30 a bottle, Michelle.
Powerful wines, powerful wines. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Big piece of cake.
That was